Hello, everyone. Welcome to another NinjaGo season review. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at Dragons Rising Season 1, the whole thing, and not just my, thoughts on the first half. We're actually going to be digging into the whole season today. So, first, I do want to speak on just part 2, and then I'll kind of talk about how things flow as a whole season. So, part 2, definitely good. I really enjoyed my time with it. It's been a minute since I've seen all the episodes because the episodes dropped, and then I spent like a week and a half. I watched like one or two a day for however long that took. It was like 10 episodes or something like that, so it took me like a week and a half to watch it all, something like that. And it was really enjoyable. I think some big notable things are Cole's back, at least somewhat. He was in 2 episodes, I think. Or was it just one that felt like it was stretched into 2? I can't remember. I think he was actually in 2 episodes. He was fully in 1. And then he was like at the very beginning of another. And then he went off on his mystical ghost woo spiritual arc that will probably be covered next season or whatever that's going to be. And then he's going to pop in randomly for the mech shorts that are coming out or whatever later, earlier this spring, whatever. So that was good. It was good to see Cole back. It's funny, it'd been long enough that since I'd seen Crystallized and everything, and Cole had been on screen, that in my head, I was still expecting Kirby Morrow, and then Andrew Francis's voice came out of his mouth, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Still just very sad. Andrew Francis doing a great job as Cole, like, once again, but it is just something that, whenever I hear him speak, I'm always going to remember that. It's like, oh, yeah, that's sad, But yeah, no, it's good to see Cole back. I'm interested to see where they continue his story. I really like the fact that, he's separated from everyone in the merge, and then it seems like he kind of immediately finds this little group of a bunch of weirdo random characters, and he's like, all right, this is my newfound family. I'm going to protect them. So that's cool. So I also found it funny that old lady was a skeleton. It just seemed like she was just a skeleton. It's like she wasn't even. I mean, was she? It didn't seem like she was a skulkin. I don't think, but it just seemed like she was like a regular skeleton, which was kind of interesting. So that was funny. Let me think. One of the new characters I really enjoyed was Wildfire. She appeared very late at the end of part 1, and so you didn't really get too much. You kind of got an idea of what her initial personality was going to be like, but you didn't really get much time to really dig into her backstory and everything. So getting more time with Wildfire, I really enjoyed that. I think she's a fun character. I haven't seen too much being said about her online because for me this was a fun character, but I could easily see how this is a character that rubs people the wrong way. So hopefully that's not the reaction she's been getting because I really enjoyed her. She is kind of a good reflection for Kai, about what he really could have been, where it's like, Kai's always been a little impulsive and stuff, but I mean, she is just so ramp that up, on a dial that goes to 10, she's an 11, bonkers attitude. She was raised in the wild by dragons and a tutor bot or whatever. So that it's like, that was a nice explanation for how she spoke English. Because I think she mentioned at the end of part 1, it's like, I was raised by dragons. They are my family. I'm like, how do you know English then? And then they addressed that. She's like, oh, there was a robot that taught her English, or NinjaGoese, or whatever it is. The language of NinjaGo, let's put it that way. So yeah, I thought that was, she's a fun character. I'm really enjoying her. And it's like seeing the kind of subtle growth with kind of Kai acting as her mentor. Which, you'd think Kai would be, one of the last people to mentor someone in kind of the way he's been written recently. But then you dig back to, like, the more early Will film era, like seasons 1 through 5-ish. And it's like, yeah, no, he would actually make a good mentor. Because it's like his whole arc in Possession is about not about, failing Lloyd and wanting to be there for him and everything after he's possessed by Morrow. And of course, season 1, you have that he has that realization where he matures a little bit, and he's like, no, I'm not supposed to be the Green Ninja. I'm supposed to help the Green Ninja because the Green Ninja is Lloyd. So that's all, that's stuff that's really been lost with Kai in like Skybound onward, where It's like that is like one kind of nitpick I have about Skybound. I've never really dug into that much. Is that Kai does seem a little bit like a totally different character in Skybound compared to the 5 prior seasons. I mean, he was always a little cocky and rash, but then like him totally falling into this diva, oh, I love being so popular phase or whatever, and stuff. It's like, that was a little odd for him at the time, but then now the longer we've gone on, it really that's kind of been more his character. So it's interesting to kind of see that difference of Kai between in the early days and now. So kind of going backwards a little bit and seeing him mellow out a little bit and losing, and now being able to mentor Wildfire, and maybe him losing some of that more brash, hey, I'm like fire, I just do whatever the heck I want attitude. I like that. Kind of being a good merge being a good merge between his earlier characteristics and his more modern sensibilities, which have, having been a fan of Ninjago since it started, it is a little weird sometimes. I'm like, oh yeah, this is Kai. Where someone that came on board in like the last couple years, they'd go, oh yeah, that's Kai. That's just how he is. But I'm like, this is Kai. Kai was supposed to be. It's like the first year of Ninjago with the pilots in 2011. It's like he was the poster child for Ninjago. It was the Red Ninja. He was on everything. Then season 1 came around, and suddenly it's the Green Ninja. It's the Green Ninja. Who's the Green Ninja? Oh, it's Lloyd. And then Lloyd's been at the forefront ever since. So it's just a little bit funny to look at that history, because I can remember that first year where Kai was the poster child for everything, and then everyone's kind of had their little moment to be the star and to be on the box art. Whether it's Lloyd or Wu or Garmadon or Nia or whoever. So they've all kind of gotten some equal airtime, so to speak, in promotional material and stuff since. But it is just really funny to look back on Kai and see him in Dragon's Rising, and it's like like I said, it's a very good medium, a happy medium between his two major characterizations. So that's really interesting. So I think a big thing to talk about is we have a Jin back, which is really interesting. I can't remember his name because he's only in like 2 episodes. And he's only in the second one. He's in for a small time. I don't know how I feel about them after all of this time reintroducing the Jin into Ninjago and it not being Nauticon after they've teased him for literal years with the teapot. It's like, oh, we finally have a Jin and it's not Nauticon. It's like, why have you been teasing this stupid teapot if it's not him? People have been theorizing about him for years. It's like, at one point I thought he was going to be I thought it was a pretty good idea that he could have been the Crystal King. The one, the buying the mysterious Vinstone buyer and all of that. Because it made more sense than the Overlord. So, I mean, just because we have this new Jin doesn't mean that Nauticon can't make an appearance later on. And even then, I feel like this potentially even makes Nauticon reappearing a necessity. So that way we can see the contrast between these two characters, where it's like you have a noble Jin and then you have Nauticon, who, because we know very, very little about the Jin. We know basically all we know from them is the little snippets we get of Ninjago in that one episode from Skybound, and then all of Nauticon's characterization. And that's it. The Jin have nary been brought up or mentioned or featured since. And so I think it's something that has kind of been lost a teensy bit, where we maybe think that the Jin aren't necessarily the best people, because you have Nauticon, who's an infamous pirate and he is a trickster and all this stuff. And then when he goes to meet his dad, his dad is like, yes, avenge us, my son. It's like, get revenge on Ninjago for destroying our sister realm and dooming us in the process. But at the same time, I think something that's maybe forgotten is that I'm pretty sure in Skybound they mentioned that Nauticon and all the other crewmates of his were cast out and banished from their respective realms. So Nauticon clearly wasn't really a stand-up individual to begin with. So it is totally possible that there are some nicer, actual noble Jin out there, and this one from Dragon's Rising seems to be the case. But considering that literally the only Jin representation we've had in Ninjago is from a main villain, it's just a little fun. I just think that's something interesting to think about. It's a little funny. So I'm definitely on board with having him in here because, like I said, I think it kind of at this point really necessitates a Nauticon return. Hopefully in some big fashion and not just like a one-off appearance that just for funsies, where it's like, oh yeah, we're going to bring him back for an episode and banish him again really easily. It's like, that'd be stupid. I'd really hate that. Nauticon is, again, I've talked about this before. Nauticon is such a interesting and powerful villain that if you're going to bring him back, he needs to be like the main threat of a season. And given that it is now 2014, we're like 9 years removed from. No, wait, not Skybound was early 2016. So never mind. I guess it wouldn't. I guess we're still. So it's been 8 years since Nauticon was the main villain. I feel like enough time has passed. We can bring him back, and there's been so many seasons of the show because we get like 2 seasons a year on a good year. So yeah, new Jin. That's interesting. Some of the dragons being from Ninjago also I think is interesting because dragons seem to be as we've kind of known for a little while, but it's definitely being readdressed here. Is that dragons are kind of this universal constant between all of the realms? It seems like where they exist in all these different realms and they have the ability to travel between them kind of at will. So some of these dragons, are from Ninjago. So it kind of makes it interesting to think about where it's like in Master of the Mountain, Wu says, "Oh, is that a Shintaran Ridgeback dragon? Those are very rare." It's like, well, are they very? Maybe they're very rare in Ninjago, but they're actually from a different realm. Just you get one every now and again in Ninjago and we haven't seen Chompy since Crystallized because I'm pretty sure he and Vanya rode into battle together. I could be mistaken about that though. But so lots of interesting new dragon stuff. I have kind of been focusing on kind of the traditional main cast of characters for the most part. Aaron and Sora, I think they're still strong good leads, along with Lloyd. To kind of, it's like with part 2, we thankfully have a build up. We have more of the classic team back. Zane is pretty prevalent again. Thank goodness. I love Zane. His kind of partnership with Mr. Frohickey as the new monastery custodian or whatever, that was really fun. Their kind of misadventures. Overall, some of the tone I'm getting in a good way. Also, I'm getting like season 2 vibes from it, where it's like, yeah, there's some serious stuff going on, but we're gonna have all these kind of side adventures, and just kind of have some fun with it. So like Lloyd and not Sora, Lloyd and Aaron ending up on that floating island in the middle of the ocean, and fighting the giant crab creature. That was a fun episode. The episode with the snails, that was kind of fun. And then of course, like the agency, whatever this weird shield type cabal is that exists outside of time and space, maybe. And Jay being there for some reason that I'm sure will get addressed later, but that was his like one and only appearance in the season. It's a lot of fun, a lot of good fun. And it does have, like I said, it kind of reminds me of, I think, what season 2 was going for, where we're going to have some fun kind of side adventures here, but at least with Dragon's Rising, all these side adventures really do actually further the plot along as opposed to season 2 where it's like, hey, we're gonna have this race across Ninjago just because we need another episode and we're gonna reuse some assets here and it'll be cheap. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. It did. I don't know if it was really that bad. I will say it made the pacing just a teensy bit clunky. I feel like, because it seemed like side adventure, side adventure, side adventure, side adventure. Yay, we're having fun. We're having fun. We're having fun. Finale. It's like, oh, hey, we're at the finale already, and the finale was like 4 episodes or something like that. It stretched on for a little while, which was good. I'm glad they took their time with the finale. But the pacing did just seem a teensy bit wonky because of that. It wasn't a huge deal. I don't think. I think it all worked for the most part. But yeah, it was an interesting way to kind of present that. Let's see. Then Empress Beatrix. Certainly not the strongest villain Ninjago's ever had. I mean, I think she's probably somewhere in the middle. She's not the greatest, but she's by far not the worst either. I think it's like some Marvel villains where it's like, are all villains in the MCU like standout characters? No, but they achieve what they need to. They're defeated and then they're out. They're forgotten about. Except I'm pretty sure Beatrix is going to be back. I think she has a pretty good backstory where she and Roz, kind of schemed to take over this empire from her father and everything, and killed her sister, I'm pretty sure, too, so that way she could take the throne, if I'm remembering that correctly. She definitely killed her father, but, like, killing both her father and her sister at the same time, that is dark. And it's one of those things, if I'm curious if that's going to stick, or if, like, next season we're going to get another perspective of that, where they survived, but then they ended up with amnesia or something, or it's like, or they fell through a rift in time and space, and they got sent to another realm before the merge, and so they're trying to find their way around the new merged world, and they're going to, or something like that. That might be interesting. So I am curious if that's going to stick. But I did watch that, and I go, oh, okay, we're just straight out, doing some backstabby, murdery things on this children's show. All right, that's good. I'm okay with that, because like I said, Ninjago has always been able to very well toe the line between being, this is for kids and having some fun antics, and also going darker. And I think that's one of those ways where it's like the show does a good job of balancing that, because like, yeah, we have these fun side adventures, and then we can also go, oh, this villain killed her family in order to attain power. Yeah. So yeah, Beatrix, fine as a villain. Same with a lot of her hench people, like Lord Roz. I really could have cared less about until the very end of the season, where it's like, oh yes, I actually work for someone else, and and they have some plans. I'm like, okay, who is this? Now I'm more interested in you as a character, because there's something else going on here. The scientist lady, I can't remember her name. She was fine. It's like, okay, whatever. You're just a stuck up scientist that's full of herself. All right, nothing really too notable here. But the character I really did walk away from going, I want him to be in more stuff, is Rapton. I really enjoyed Rapton. Rapton was really funny. I really enjoyed Rapton, and I feel like he's kind of the equivalent for the bad guys. I feel like he's their Dareth, if that makes sense. Where it's like, and so I would love to see them square off one of these days, where it's like it's like, because I could totally see after the finale and everything, where it's like, a new government's put in place and everything, and then Rapton kind of becomes a kind of a mercenary, and so then he starts becoming like a hench person for hire, and he starts teaming up with like whoever the new villain of the year is, and he's like, oh yeah, I'll join you, and then like at the very end, he always ends up skedaddling just at the last second, so he can go seek work elsewhere. And it's like, and maybe he doesn't always join the big bad, but like he always pops up every now and then, just working working small jobs. Like maybe he's with the mechanic one season, then he leaves, and then he's like, oh yeah, this pirate genie guy. No, I'm totally siding with him. He seems like the big bad now. So it's like I think that could be kind of interesting for Rapton and to keep him around a little bit. And of course, to eventually maybe have a Dareth and Rapton face off. Just imagine how funny that would be, having Dareth and Rapton fight one another. Because Rapton actually has some combat skills. He actually knows a little bit what he's doing. And so he would probably be able to take Dareth in a fight, except for the fact that Dareth just has blind luck on his side. So Dareth would probably charge, trip over something, and end up tackling Rapton and knocking him out, and then that would be the end of the fight. It'd last all of 3 seconds, and it's just because Dareth got lucky. But that would be hilarious and so in character. I would love it so much. So yeah, let's see here. I guess I'll talk about like the season as a whole now, going from the first episode from part 1 going all the way to the end. I think this was a solid season of Ninjago. It's certainly not in like the top. It's not my top 5 for sure. But and it's at the point where I have to even stop and think about how many seasons are there now, because there's a lot. But I think it's solid. I don't think it has any major issues where I'm like, okay, this is a huge problem. It's like, no, I think this is a good, kind of reintroduction. It's a good way to do a soft reboot. I talked about that a little bit, I think, in my part 1 thoughts video, where it's like, yeah, this is a good way to kind of ease us back in, introduce some new characters, ensure that the old characters don't get stale. Change up the status quo some, kind of do a complete 180 from where Crystallized left us, where it seemed like Crystallized, it's one of its big faults is that it was just so keen on keeping the status quo and giving us everything we had seen before. Overlord, seen before. Indestructible Army until they're not, seen before. The ninja having to give away their elemental powers, seen it before. Mysteriously going to get them back in an unexplained manner, seen it before. So it's like, Crystallized was full of so much stuff we'd just seen before, where Dragon's Rising was new characters, new setting, new villains, new dragons, all, new powers and abilities, new lore explanations for things, which is, once again, they're kind of changing, they're going in and, messing and retconning things. It's like, oh, here's where elemental powers really came from. And it's like, okay, I'm just not going to think about it at this point because it's too confusing. But who knows? Maybe by the end of the Dragon's Rising saga or whatever, everything's going to make actually way more sense. And we're going to have, they're going to have finally, after 10 plus years, they're going to have come up with a way to make some of these inconsistencies and little plot holes make sense. And it's like, oh, it wasn't a plot hole this whole time. Actually, it was because of this. And so it actually now makes sense now. Who knows? Maybe they're going to do some of that. But, so yeah, I really did enjoy it for that aspect. The fact that it was giving me so much new, and it's like, okay, this is a good fresh start for Ninjago. And the fact that they did bring in so many of the legacy characters so quickly, because I think that was an interesting line to straddle, where they could have said, okay, this is Ninjago, but we are going to make you wait for the old characters to come back. Like, at the end of part 1, it's just... Well, actually, no, I guess they got Zane back at the very end of part 1. I was about to say, it's just Lloyd, Kai, and Nia. Those are the only ninja we have back from the original group. But then I did forget they added Zane back at at the last episode. And then with part 2, we got Cole thrown back in, even though he's not back on the team, but we still saw him. We got a little glimpse of Jay. We've got Ghost Wu floating around or whatever. It's like, is he really a ghost? Is he actually, gone? It's like, now potential spoilers for the second season, but all the new 2024 sets are out, and there's a giant dragon that kind of looks like Wu. So I'm like, is this how you're going to progress Wu as a character? Are you going to turn him into a dragon and it's like now he's going to be a dragon wearing his big hat and with a dragon with a beard? Because that'd kind of be interesting. So who knows? Or maybe it's a coincidence that the dragon looks like that. Who knows how they're going to explain that in the show? Because the sets in the shows don't always line up. But yeah, no, I did really appreciate Dragons Rising for changing things up, but it not being too. I don't think there was anything in here that was egregious in terms of changing things or anything like that, and giving us back those familiar characters so early, I think was a smart move. Because for part one, we did mainly focus on Aaron and Sora and Lloyd, and that was kind of it. And then Kai and Nia were kind of side characters. And so through them, we really did get a good sense of where the world is now, where Ninjago is now after we've known it for so long. And so I think they did a really good job with that. But then once we got acclimated and okay, this is where things are. Here's what we're doing now. And then it's like, okay, now we can start reintroducing. Here's Zane. Here's Ghost Wu. Jay. What's Jay doing? Here's just one little thing. Cole's off doing his own heroic thing right now, but we'll see him again. So it's like, I'm glad that they were very quickly reintroducing the main cast from prior seasons and showing where they were because we may not have gotten much from some of them, but we've at least had all of the main ninja back now. Wu, with the well, again, Pixel's not a ninja; she's an android. With basically the exception of Pixel, I mean, yeah, we have in some form pretty much we've checked in on all of the main team, so to speak. And so now it is a good hook, I feel like, for me at least, of, okay, where are you going to go with this? How are these characters going to continue forward? What new story arcs can you give them in this changed world? What does this mean for their prior relationships? Like does Jay have amnesia? Is that why he's working with the agency or whatever it's called? Did he find them and now he's undercover currently? And he's going to find out all the stuff on them, and then he's going to report back to the ninja going, hey, well, you guys have been dealing with this. I've been dealing with this, and it's a huge problem. Which would be really a great thing for Jay to do, I think. Because, he's always been a little bit of a spaz, so for him to, really set this one goal for himself. But I don't really know if that's what because it seemed like that he was just kind of slacking off there and playing video games. So I wonder if he does have amnesia or something. So I'm going to be very eager to see where they continue with him. So again, my point is that they've introduced a lot of new and interesting things for these characters to be doing now when, as we saw with Crystallize, it would be very easy for them to go through the exact same things over and over and over again. So it's not, I don't think Dragons Rising is a standout season. This is one of the best seasons of Ninjago we've ever gotten, like, say, Sons of Garmadon was or anything like that. But I think it was definitely solid. It really had a tough job because whether they knew it or not, Crystallize was just so hilariously bad that it was one of those, like, I mean, I'm sure the show will get better from here. It's like, because there's not really any, I hesitate to understand how it could get worse from here. But it did have to do a lot of legwork to kind of, get to reassure for me and a lot of other people I know. I'm sure a lot of other people are in the same boat. To reassure, it's like, hey, yeah, we're still here. We're working. We're still gonna tell good stories. It didn't apologize for Crystallized, which, I mean, because I know a lot of the writers that worked on this also worked on Crystallized, so it's one of those things where it's like, what the heck happened there? It's like, did the story change halfway through? It's like, were Tommy and Braggy just so dead set on having their Avengers, did they walk out of the theater for Endgame and go, here's what we should do for Ninjago, and then they didn't think about the fact that repeating all these things in order to get that would feel bad, feel weird. So they never apologized for Crystallized, but it's like this season definitely did a lot to reassure me that it's like, okay, we're gonna be okay. It's just this thing. Ninjago has this weird. I've talked about it before, but it's just a series where it has these peaks and valleys. It's like it started off good and it went up, and then you get to reboot and it was just a right straight down chasm of doom downhill. Then Tournament of Elements started bringing things back up. We were good for a little while. Then Hands of Time came out, and we're back down. And then the movie was bad. And oh man, that's really unfortunate. Oh, now they're changing things to be in line with this movie that no one really liked. And then, oh, but wait, yeah, they had to change things. But man, Sons of Garmadon is so good. Oh my gosh, and Hunted is good. It's like, March the Only they could have spent a little more time on, but it's like, it was still good. And it's like, people are kind of on the fence about season 11. I didn't hate it. I know there are a lot of people out there that do hate it. And then Prime Empire, it's like, it has its moments, but yeah, that's not really good. It's kind of, we're kind of in a slump again. And then, oh, but wait, Master of the Mountain. Oh, this is really good. Oh my gosh, Seabound. This is one of the best seasons we've ever had. Holy cow, this is amazing. And then, oh, we're going to immediately ruin it with Crystallize. So then Dragons Rising, we're starting to move uphill again. So if you're a fan of anything and you want to go on a roller coaster ride in terms of the quality of the thing you're a fan of, be a Ninjago fan, because you never know. It's always going to keep you guessing. You never know which direction it's going to go. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? You can hope it's good, but you never know. So yeah, we'll see where season 2 of Dragons Rising takes us. The new sets look amazing. Again, I'm not a huge Ninjago set collector. I have a decent sized collection, so I'm kind of happy with what I have. But so I don't think I'm going to get any of the new sets, but they do all look spectacular. I will say that they all do look really, really cool. So kudos to the design team for all those sets. And yeah, I really think that's it for Dragons Rising. It was a good season. I don't really just have too much to talk about because, like I said, it wasn't this giant catastrophe like Crystallized was, where it's like I think I talked for like an hour and a half about how bad Crystallized. But it's like when things are good, it's and they're just baseline good and it's not fantastic or anything. It's like, I don't really have a whole lot to talk about here because I don't have anything to complain about, but I don't really have anything to like shout from the heavens, this is amazing either. So it's like it was baseline good Ninjago, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, so that will be it for this Ninjago season review. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Remember to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Those links are in the description below, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.